There are moments in life when fear feels louder than faith, when anxiety whispers that you are alone, that the battle is too big, that the future is too uncertain. Your heart races, your thoughts spiral, and it feels like the storm inside you will never calm down. But listen carefully, fear is powerful, yet it is not greater than the power that hears you when you pray. The same God who formed the stars hears the quietest cry of your heart. And the moment you fall to your knees in prayer, are not surrendering to fear, you are declaring war against it. Today, I want you to understand something. Fear may visit you, but it does not have permission to live in you. What? Prayer reminds you that you are not fighting alone. Fear has a strange way of convincing you that you are alone. It creeps into your mind quietly, whispering that the burden you carry is yours and yours alone. Thoughts. Anxiety thrives in those moments of isolation. It grows when you begin to believe that the battle you are facing is bigger than you and that there is no one standing beside you in the fight. And when that belief settles into your spirit, fear becomes louder, heavier, and harder to escape. But prayer breaks that illusion. Prayer is the moment when you step out of isolation and into divine connection. It is the moment when your weakness reaches toward a strength far greater than your own. When you pray, you are not speaking into an empty sky. You are not throwing words into silence. You are entering into a conversation with the one who created the heavens and the earth, the one who knows your thoughts before you speak them, the one who understands every fear you have never been able to explain to another human being. Think about that for a moment. The same power that set the sun in the sky, the same authority that tells the ocean where its waves must stop, the same wisdom that designed the stars and galaxies that power listens when you pray. When fear tells you that you are powerless, prayer reminds you that you are connected to the source of all power. That changes everything. Fear wants you to believe the battle's yours alone. It wants you to think that every problem must be solved by your strength, your intelligence, your effort. It pushes you to carry weight that was never meant for your shoulders. That is why anxiety feels so overwhelming sometimes, because you are trying to carry something that is too heavy for one human heart. But prayer allows you to release what you were never meant to hold. When you pray, you begin to shift the weight of your burdens from your hands into God's hands. It is not weakness to admit that you cannot carry everything. In fact, there is incredible strength in humility. The moment you acknowledge that you need help, you open the door for divine strength to enter your situation. So many people try to face fear by pretending it does not exist. They push it down, hide it, ignore it, hoping it will disappear on its own. But fear does not disappear when it is ignored. It disappears when it is confronted. And one of the most powerful ways to confront fear is through honest, vulnerable prayer. Prayer is not about perfect words. It is not about sounding impressive or spiritual. It is about honesty. It is about bringing your real fears, your real doubts, your real struggles before God and saying, I cannot do this alone. There's something powerful that happens in that moment. When you admit your weakness in prayer, you are not surrendering to fear. You are surrendering your fear to God. And that act of surrender opens the door for strength that does not come from within you, but flows into you. Many people misunderstand prayer. They think it is only about asking for things. But prayer is much deeper than that. Prayer is about relationship. It is about connection. It is about reminding your soul that you are never truly alone, no matter how heavy life feels. There are nights when fear is loud. Nights when your mind refuses to rest. Nights when every possible worst-case scenario seems to run through your thoughts. In those moments, anxiety can feel like a prison. It traps you inside your own mind. But prayer unlocks that prison, because when you begin to pray, you shift your focus away from the storm inside your head and toward the presence of God. You begin to remember that there is someone greater than your fear standing beside you, and that realization begins to weaken the power fear has over you. Imagine a child walking through a dark room alone. Everything seems frightening. Every shadow looks like a threat. Every sound feels dangerous. But the moment the child reaches out and takes the hand of a loving parent, something changes. The darkness has not disappeared, but the fear begins to fade because the child knows they are no longer alone. Prayer works in the same way. Can feel like walking through darkness sometimes. Uncertainty about the future, struggles in relationships, financial pressure, health concerns, emotional wounds, all of these things can create shadows in your mind. And when you face them alone, they feel terrifying. But prayer is the moment you reach out and take the hand of God. And suddenly the darkness does not feel as powerful as it once did. The situation may not change immediately. The challenge you are facing might still exist tomorrow morning, but something inside you begins to change. Your spirit begins to strengthen. Your heart begins to steady. And the fear that once controlled your thoughts starts losing its grip. This is why prayer is so powerful in moments of anxiety. It reminds you that your life is not resting on your strength alone. There is divine guidance available to you. There is supernatural peace available to you. There is wisdom available to you that goes beyond human understanding. Fear shrinks when you remember who stands with you. There are people who have faced impossible situations and found courage they did not know they had. Not because they were fearless, but because they were faithful. They understood that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to trust God even when fear is present. And that trust grows through prayer. Every time you pray in the middle of anxiety, you are strengthening your faith. You are training your heart to remember that God is present even in difficult moments. You are teaching your mind to look upward instead of inward. Anxiety pulls your thoughts inward. It traps you in your own worries and fears. But prayer lifts your thoughts upward. It reminds you that your perspective is limited, but God's perspective is not. What looks impossible to you may already have a solution in God's plan. What feels overwhelming to you may be something God is preparing you to overcome. What feels like the end of the road may actually be the beginning of a new chapter, but you cannot see that clearly when fear is controlling your mind. Prayer clears the fog. It creates space in your heart for peace to enter. It replaces the lie of isolation with the truth of divine presence. It reminds you that even in your weakest moments, you are still supported by a power greater than anything you are facing. So when anxiety tries to convince you that you are alone, remember this truth. You never have to fight your battles by yourself. A problem is too big. Remember that the God who hears your prayers is bigger than any problem you will ever face. When worry fills your mind with questions about tomorrow, remember that the one who holds tomorrow is already listening to you today. And the moment you turn to prayer, you step out of loneliness and into partnership with God. You stop fighting in your own limited strength and begin walking with divine support. That is why prayer is not just a spiritual habit, it is a lifeline. Source of courage. It is a reminder that even in your most anxious moments, you are never abandoned. Fear may knock at your door, but prayer invites strength into your house. Key point 2, prayer shifts your focus from problems to power. Fear and anxiety have a way of hijacking the mind, of locking your thoughts into a cycle that feels impossible to escape. When your mind is consumed by worry, it pulls your focus entirely onto the problem. You begin replaying every scenario over and over, imagining every possible mistake, every potential failure, every what if that could go wrong. Anxiety thrives in this state because it keeps you trapped inside your own head, convinced that the problem is larger than your capacity to handle it. It feeds on uncertainty, magnifies doubts, and convinces you that you are powerless to change your circumstances. It whispers that there is no solution, that your situation will never improve, that you are destined to fail. Consumed by what could go wrong, your energy drains away. Your confidence disappears. Joe Coy Fathers, the mind becomes a prison and fear is the jailer. This is why prayer is so transformative. Prayer shifts your focus from the problem to the source of power. It interrupts the cycle of worry and fear that keeps you trapped in anxious thinking. When you pray, you are not pretending the problem doesn't exist, nor are you ignoring it. You are acknowledging it, yes, but you are redirecting attention toward the one who can bring resolution, the one whose wisdom exceeds your understanding, the one whose strength is greater than any challenge you face. Prayer is not a distraction, it is a refocusing. It is a deliberate act of shifting your perspective from fear to faith. When you pray, you are training your mind to stop rehearsing the worst case scenarios. Instead of imagining every way things can go wrong, prayer allows you to imagine a reality guided by divine wisdom. Opportunity to remind your soul that you are not powerless. You are not alone. You are not limited by the circumstances you see. Prayer is a bridge between what is humanly possible and what is divinely possible. It opens your vision to a realm where solutions exist beyond what your mind can conceive. The simple act of lifting your thoughts from the problem and placing them on God transforms anxiety into hope, confusion into clarity, and panic into peace. Because your mind thinks it has to find the solution on its own. Fear whispers that you are the only one who can fix what is broken, the only one who can carry the burden, the only one who can make things right. It convinces you that the situation is too big, the circumstance is too complicated, the outcome too uncertain. But when you pray, you acknowledge that there is a power greater than your own. You step out of the illusion that you are the sole problem solver, and you step into the reality that you have access to divine guidance and strength. Prayer shifts the weight from your shoulders to God's hands, and suddenly what felt impossible begins to feel manageable. Your mind is no longer the only source of solutions. There is wisdom and direction available to you that transcends your own understanding. This shift in focus is critical because fear and anxiety do not exist in a vacuum. They grow stronger when they dominate your thoughts, when they become the center of your attention. The human mind is powerful, but it is also susceptible to what it focuses on most. If you dwell constantly on the problem, you feed fear. You magnify it, you give it life. But if you redirect your focus toward God, toward divine possibilities, toward hope and strength, you weaken the hold fear has over you. Prayer becomes a tool for reclaiming your mind. It is a way to take back control from anxiety and refuse to let it dictate your thoughts. Each prayer is a deliberate act of training your mind to focus on the power that can change your situation rather than the problem itself. In this process, prayer does something else. It changes your expectations. When you are consumed by fear, your expectations are often limited by what you can see, by what your own abilities allow. You expect the worst because that is all your mind can imagine. But when you pray, you open yourself to the unexpected. You open yourself to solutions, opportunities, and outcomes that you could not foresee. Prayer expands your vision and reminds you that reality is not limited to what you can predict. You may not understand the path forward, but in prayer, you acknowledge that someone does. Someone who sees the beginning and the end. Someone who knows every hidden detail. Someone whose wisdom exceeds every complication. That awareness allows you to release the obsession with control and to trust that the outcome can be guided by divine intervention. Anxiety often traps you in a cycle of fear because it makes you feel powerless. When you are powerless, your thoughts are constantly consumed with what ifs and doubts. Prayer restores a sense of agency, not because it places the power entirely in your hands, but because it connects you to a source of unlimited power. Suddenly, your situation is no longer a battle fought alone. It becomes a battle fought with divine assistance. You begin to realize that your mind does not have to solve every problem, plan every detail, or overcome every obstacle. Can do what your mind cannot, and prayer is the channel to which that power is accessed. In prayer, you also receive clarity. When your thoughts are consumed by fear, it is hard to see the next step. Anxiety clouds judgment, confuses decision-making, and paralyzes action. But prayer invites wisdom. It quiets the noise of panic and allows insight to rise. In those moments, solutions and ideas may come that never occurred to you when your mind was trapped in worry. Peace replaces panic because you are no longer relying solely on your own understanding. Your decisions are guided, your steps are strengthened, and your mind is fortified. You begin to see the way forward where previously there seemed to be no path. Moreover, prayer shifts your emotions as well as your focus. When fear dominates your thoughts, your emotions follow suit. Anxiety produces stress, tension, and a sense of impending doom. Your heart races, your chest tightens, and your body responds as though danger is imminent. But when you pray, your mind focuses on God instead of the problem. Your thoughts are filled with hope, trust, and the certainty of divine presence. And as your mind shifts, your emotions begin to shift as well. Peace begins to settle where panic once reigned. Your heart slows, your body relaxes, and your spirit is reassured. Fear may still be present, but it is no longer controlling your entire being. Prayer creates a mental and emotional pivot from chaos to calm. Another key aspect of prayer is that it strengthens your faith. Faith grows when you deliberately shift your focus from fear to trust. Anxiety shrinks when you replace obsessive worry with intentional prayer. Each time you pray, you are exercising your spiritual muscles, training your mind to focus on God rather than the problem. The more you do it, the stronger your faith becomes. Over time, fear begins to lose its grip, not because the problems disappear, but because you have learned to walk in peace. Confidence regardless of the circumstances. You discover that peace is not contingent on the absence of challenges, it is rooted in the presence of God. Prayer also transforms your identity. When you are trapped in anxiety, you can begin to define yourself by fear. You see yourself as weak, incapable, or unworthy. But prayer reminds you of your true position. You are a child of God, held, loved, and guided. You are not defined by your fears, your failures, or your problems. You are defined your connection to a power far greater than any situation you face. That awareness shifts your perception of yourself and your circumstances, empowering you to move forward with confidence. Finally, prayer reminds you that fear is temporary. Anxiety thrives when it convinces you that your current struggle will last forever. But prayer places your problem into a larger context, reminding you that God is bigger than the challenge, that divine timing is perfect, and that even the most difficult. The act of prayer is an anchor. It keeps you steady, rooted in hope and perspective, even when the winds of worry and fear rage around you. In every way, prayer is a powerful tool to shift your focus from problems to power. It interrupts the cycle of fear, transforms your thinking, strengthens your faith, and invites divine wisdom and peace into your life. It is not a denial of reality, it is an embrace of possibility. It is not the absence of challenges, it is the presence of hope. And as you pray, your perspective changes. You begin to see problems not as insurmountable walls, but as mountains that can be climbed with divine help. You begin to understand that while fear is temporary, the power that stands with you in prayer is eternal. You begin to realize that no matter what challenges you face, you have access to guidance, strength, and peace far beyond your own understanding. Prayer does not just offer comfort, it offers transformation. It changes how you see your problems, how you think about your future, how you respond to fear. It is the pathway from panic to perspective, from worry to wisdom, from chaos to calm. And when your mind is focused on God rather than the problem, fear loses its power, and you begin to walk in confidence, knowing that the one who hears your prayers is already at work on your behalf. Key point 3. Prayer replaces panic with peace. Fear, anxiety, and panic have a way of taking control of the mind and heart, creating a storm that feels impossible to calm. Panic shouts. It races through your thoughts like a wildfire, consuming logic, distorting reality, and convincing you that you are in more danger than you actually are. Anxiety rushes in with relentless what-ifs, imagining worst-case scenarios and replaying every negative possibility over and over again. It is exhausting, relentless, and disorienting. The mind becomes a battlefield, your emotions are on edge, and your body reacts as though the threat is immediate and unavoidable. Fear makes you feel as if you are trapped in a situation with no escape, no safety, no guidance, and no hope. The tension it creates can paralyze you, making it feel impossible to take even a single step forward. Panic thrives on uncertainty, and it convinces you that the answers are out of reach, that help is too late, and that the pressure will never ease. It dominates your thoughts and threatens to overwhelm your spirit. But prayer has the power to replace panic with peace. It is not a temporary distraction or a superficial moment of calm. Prayer is a deliberate act of connecting your soul with the source of peace that surpasses all understanding. When you pray deeply and sincerely, you are inviting divine presence into your situation, and that presence begins to work in ways that the mind cannot fully comprehend. Suddenly, your thoughts begin to settle. Your heart begins to steady. Your racing mind begins to slow down. Prayer does not only change the circumstances immediately, but it changes your response to them. It creates a sanctuary in your spirit, a refuge where fear cannot dominate, and a space where peace begins to replace panic. The first way prayer replaces panic with peace is by redirecting your focus. When anxiety takes control, your attention is fixated entirely on what is wrong, what could go wrong, and how out of control everything feels. Your mind runs endless loops of fear, imagining disasters and catastrophes, convincing you that you must anticipate every negative outcome or suffer the consequences. Prayer interrupts this destructive pattern. It shifts your focus from the swirling storm of panic to the presence of God. It reminds you that you are not alone, that you are not abandoned, and that the same power that created the universe is aware of and involved in your situation. This shift in focus is crucial because panic cannot thrive when your attention is on something greater than the problem. Energy is no longer spent on worrying, it is redirected toward trust, hope, and faith. Another way prayer replaces panic with peace is by grounding the heart. Fear produces physical reactions in the body, a racing heartbeat, shallow breathing, tense muscles, and a feeling of impending doom. These physical responses reinforce the mental and emotional grip of anxiety, creating a cycle that is difficult to break. Prayer acts as an anchor, stabilizing your emotions and calming your nervous system. When you pray, your body begins to respond to the spiritual shift. Deep breaths come more naturally, the tension in your shoulders eases, and your racing heart begins to find rhythm. Your body and spirit align in the recognition that you are held, supported, and cared for, which creates a physiological sense of peace that counteracts panic. Prayer also strengthens faith, which is the antidote to fear. Panic thrives in uncertainty and lack of trust. When you are unsure of the outcome, when you cannot see the solution, panic escalates. Prayer allows you to place your trust in something beyond yourself. Each moment spent in prayer is a conscious decision to rely on divine wisdom rather than your limited understanding. It is a declaration that while you cannot control everything, there is a higher power at work that can guide, protect, and provide for you. With each prayer, faith grows and fear loses its grip. What once seemed overwhelming begins to feel manageable because you recognize that you are not navigating life alone. Trust begins to replace panic, and peace gradually fills the gaps that fear once occupied. Moreover, prayer brings clarity and perspective. Panic clouds judgment. It distorts reality. It amplifies minor issues into catastrophes. But when you pray, your mind begins to gain clarity. The act of surrendering your fears to God allows you to see the situation through a lens of wisdom, hope, and divine guidance. Prayer creates mental space where insight and understanding can emerge, revealing solutions and paths that were previously hidden by the fog of fear. It is not that the problem disappears, but the way forward becomes visible because your focus has shifted from chaos to guidance. Peace grows as clarity replaces confusion, and anxiety begins to dissolve in the light of understanding. Prayer also provides a sense of security that panic cannot undermine. When fear and anxiety dominate, there's a feeling of vulnerability, as if the world is too unpredictable and too dangerous. Prayer reminds you that you are protected by a power that is far beyond your understanding, far greater than any threat or challenge you face. The act of praying, speaking to God, seeking guidance, surrendering control, creates a spiritual shield. It reassures your soul that you are not defenseless, that there is a safe hand holding you even when circumstances seem overwhelming. This sense of security replaces the insecurity that panic fosters, and a deep peace begins to permeate your heart. Another critical aspect is the transformative nature of repetitive prayer. Fear and panic can return repeatedly because the mind is conditioned to anticipate danger. However, persistent prayer trains the mind and heart to respond differently. Each prayer reinforces the habit of turning to God rather than succumbing to fear. Over time, this habit rewires the way your spirit reacts under pressure. Panic may arise, but your first response becomes prayer, trust, and peace rather than worry and despair. This is how prayer develops resilience. It does not eliminate the existence of fear, but equips you to navigate fear without being consumed by it. Prayer also reconnects you with hope. When panic overwhelms, hope can seem distant or impossible to hold on to. Anxiety convinces you that the situation will never improve and that nothing can bring relief. But prayer acts as a conduit for hope. By reminding your spirit of God's promises, by acknowledging power that stands with you, prayer breathes life into hope. Hope is not blind optimism. It is a recognition that even in difficult circumstances, a solution is possible, guidance is available, and peace can exist. As hope rises, panic diminishes, and peace grows stronger. Furthermore, prayer fosters patience, which is essential in the battle against fear and anxiety. Panic demands immediate resolution. It refuses to wait. It demands control, and it magnifies urgency. Prayer teaches you to relieve a pressure of urgency. It invites you to trust in timing that may not align with your schedule, but is perfect in its execution. When you pray, you acknowledge that solutions and outcomes are in divine hands. This perspective creates calm and diminishes the frantic energy that panic produces. You learn to wait without anxiety, to endure without despair, and to trust without constant worry. Prayer also strengthens the spirit to endure storms. Life is filled with unexpected trials, setbacks, challenges. Panic emerges when these trials appear insurmountable. However, prayer empowers endurance. It reminds you that you do not face difficulties alone. Each prayer is a declaration that your spirit is not defined by fear or circumstance, but by the presence of God. Endurance grows as you consistently turn to prayer, and peace becomes a companion that walks beside you through every storm. Another dimension of prayer is its ability to replace obsessive thoughts with focus. Anxiety often traps you in repetitive loops of negative thinking. Your mind becomes fixated on fear, imagining outcomes that may never come to pass. Prayer interrupts that loop. It shifts mental energy from obsession over problems to attention on God's presence, guidance, and promises. This redirection of focus weakens the power of panic because your mind is no longer feeding it constantly. Instead, your thoughts are filled with peace, trust, and hope. In addition, prayer allows for emotional release. It's often accompanied by suppressed emotions, fear, frustration, grief, and worry that amplify anxiety. Prayer provides a safe space to release these emotions. When you pour out your heart, speak honestly about your fears, and surrender your burdens, you unburden your spirit. This release brings emotional relief, lightens the heart, and fosters inner calm. Peace begins to grow as the weight of unexpressed fear is lifted, leaving room for serenity to take root. Prayer also cultivates perspective by reminding you that your present struggles are temporary. Panic thrives when you perceive your challenges as permanent or overwhelming. Through prayer, you are reminded that God's presence is eternal, that difficult seasons have beginnings and endings, and that divine guidance is ongoing. The recognition of this larger reality transforms panic into patience, fear into trust, and chaos into peace. Finally, prayer replaces panic with peace because it cultivates a deeper awareness of connection. Panic isolates you, convincing you that no one understands, no one cares, and no one can help. But prayer reconnects you to the source of ultimate care, wisdom, and power. It reminds you that you are never truly alone. Even in moments when human support is unavailable, divine presence is constant. That awareness produces profound peace that surpasses circumstance, calms the mind, and steadies the heart. In every dimension, prayer is the pathway from panic to peace. It redirects focus from problems to God, anchors the heart, strengthens faith, provides clarity, fosters hope, cultivates patience, and releases emotional burdens. It reminds your spirit that you are never alone, that a higher power is present, and that peace is available even in the midst of chaos. When fear and anxiety rise, prayer does not just provide temporary relief, it transforms the way you experience life. It replaces panic with calm, despair with hope, and anxiety with enduring peace. Discover that even when the storm is raging around you, your soul can remain steady, your heart can remain calm, and your spirit can rest in the certainty that God is in control.